Tricks do not work if the position is bad and the opponent remains alert until the end. Judit Polgar. Hello chess lovers, Soren here, and in this video I would like to share with you a very dramatic game played by Judit Polgar. Her opponent is Juan Mario Gomez Esteban, and this game was played in 1989 in Salamanca. At the time of this game, Polgar was 13 years old, and she would achieve the title of Grandmaster only 2 years later in 1991 at the age of 15 years and 4 months. At the time the youngest to have done so, breaking the record previously held by former world champion Bobby Fischer. Now let's see what happened in this game. Polgar had white pieces and she opened up with e4, and Gomez Esteban responded with Sicilian defense c5, knight f3 d6, bishop b5 check. Polgar goes for Moscow variation, a nice way of avoiding theoretical battle. Bishop d7, we have the exchange of light squared bishops on d7 and white castles kingside. Knight c6, c3, white is preparing to establish this classical pawn center, but black played d5, thus breaking into pieces white's future ideal center. It takes d5, queen takes d5 and d4. Now comes e6, bishop e3, c takes d4, c takes d4. White got an isolated pawn, and now let's see how is black going to play against this pawn. Knight f6, knight c3, queen a5, knight e5 and bishop e7. Of course, you can't win a pawn by capturing on e5 and then queen takes e5, because white can deliver this queen a4 check, and if knight d7 then rook d1 is coming, and black king stuck in the center of the board is becoming a huge target. That's why in our game after knight d5 we have bishop e7. Black proceeds with his development and queen f3. White is intensifying the pressure on c6. We have rook c8, queen g3. Meanwhile, white queen is looking for more targets and black castles kingside. Now comes rook e1. This time white is centralizing her rooks and knight takes e5. Finally, knight takes e5 is on the board. It takes e5, knight d5 and bishop h6. There is a mating threat, that's why black covered the g7 square, and this time we have knight e4. New forces are joining the attack. Knight e7. Although black could also capture on a2, no problem at all. If knight d6 then rook c7. But in our game we have knight d7, which is a more solid alternative. Here comes knight d6 and knight f5, after which we have the exchange of knights on f5. And in here Polgar played h4. Yes, she's proceeding with her attack, but still black's kingside is very solid, and it was better first to save this pawn, for example by playing rook a1. Of course this is a very passive choice, but white should go for this move in order to save the pawn. Otherwise, if we move like a3, then this can be even worse. Black can first go for the exchange of rooks and then can play rook d8, trying to exploit the back rank weakness, and then can play queen b5. If bishop c1 then rook d3, and suddenly black's position is getting very active. Let's go back. In our game after e takes f5 we have h4, and in here Gomez Esteban simply won the pawn on a2. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8 and h5. The pawn is marching forward, and now the threat is bishop takes g7 followed by h6. That's why black responded with queen a4 by bringing the queen on the fourth rank. At any moment black can neutralize all the threats by playing queen g4, and also now black wants to go for rook d1. Here Polgar played f3, and here is what she writes. By this point I was looking for tricks at any cost, but it happened that I was caught by my own trick. The last move aims to prevent queen g4, threatening bishop takes g7 followed by h6. And in here Gomez Esteban offered the exchange of rooks, but instead of playing rook takes d1, Polgar chose a very tricky line and went for bishop takes g7 sacrifice. By the way, rook takes d1 of course is better, although even in this case it's hard to believe that white can save this position. Black has an extra pawn and a very active queen. In our game after rook d1, as I've already mentioned, Polgar played bishop takes g7, and after rook takes e1 check, she played king h2. Yes, she's sacrificing both her bishop and the rook, but let's see what's in white's mind. Bishop takes g7 was played and h6. Finally, h6 is on the board. The g4 square is successfully covered by the pawn on f3, and on the surface it looks like that the game is over, white is winning. But in here, Gomez Esteban made a move and white resigned. Can you find the winning move for black? Ready? Gomez Esteban played queen f4, sacrificed his queen and pinned white queen, thus neutralizing the mating thread. Now if queen takes f4, then after this move, white queen steps into another pin, and after bishop takes e5, black is winning. By the way, after h6, even queen g4 is winning. Believe it or not, but this is also winning. If f takes g4, then again, white queen steps into a deadly pin. That's why, understanding that the game is over after queen f4, Judit Polgar resigned. A very beautiful finish, I think. What is interesting, although Judit Polgar lost this game, but this game is treasured in her book How I Beat Bobby Fischer's Record. In the end, would like to ask you to solve a chess puzzle. Please take a look at this position and try to find the winning move for white. I will wait for your answer in the comment section. Thanks for watching. If you liked this game, give the thumbs up. For more games, consider subscribing to my channel. Also, press the bell button to get notified about new uploads. I will see you in my next video. Take care.